Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Louis Miranda. Born, raised, and educated in the southeast side of Lancaster City. I've lived in Lancaster my entire life. I'm also a business owner. I'm a business owner at Boot Camp 900, which provides health and fitness resources for the southeast side of Lancaster City. But here's my question. I spent this entire morning with people from my community picking up trash in our neighborhood. We're called It Starts With Us because that's what we believe in. That people need to stand up together and take action to change things. But we can't do this alone. For generations, Lancaster's Latino and Black communities have been left to fend for ourselves. And after Charlottesville or the KKK rally that happened in this county this summer, it's clear that racism isn't going away. What will you do to empower the people of color and help strengthen our communities? How will you tackle racism and stand up for a united Lancaster?
I'm not surprised that you had a great question. Yeah, this is it, and I think this is a huge part of what's happening in our country, and talking about race and inequality is what I get to do almost every day. So I live in Southeast Lancaster City, where I've been for the last 8 years by choice, raising my family there, and I've basically lived my whole life, adult life, in low-income communities of color. And so this is, again, back to that love your neighbor as yourself. For me, this is about putting myself in places that that means something. And for me, it gets really personal because it is my neighbors, my literal neighbors, who are experiencing what you're talking about. It's a big part of why I do the work that I do at Assets around building economic opportunity with a real focus on women and people of color. As we've seen from the Poverty Commission, poverty impacts people of color at a far, far higher rate than white folks. And so there's so much that we need to do around our economic system at a core point. And so doing anything we can to support businesses who are owned by people of color, providing access to capital, because people of color don't get access to capital at the same rates that white people do. This is long-term, entrenched, systemic processes that our government supported back in the day. And there are some things that are part of correcting that. Things like some of the work that we're doing at Assets around credit building microloans to make sure that business owners have access to capital to grow and build their businesses when they can't get it from banks. And being clear about what kind of discrimination people are facing from our systems, like our banking system or our educational system. Those are very, very important. So my bias is going towards the economics of this, but I also think that it's personal and that we need to lead by example, that our organizations, our communities, our churches need to ask the questions. If we're mostly white audiences or mostly white gatherings, we need to ask the questions why, and dig in as white folks about what the opportunities are for us to do better, to ask the questions about why people of color aren't here. This is a mostly white audience. Why is that? So let's grapple with things and be honest as a community and do everything we can to make it a stronger case for all of us. Thank you.
I'm going to come at this from a little bit different slant, because most of us, I think, would suspect that our rural farming communities are more conservative on this issue and don't understand people of color. But actually, we work very much hand in hand with people of color, because the bottom rung of the workforce are oftentimes our immigrant population. And they work with us in our fields on a daily basis, and we have hand in hand intimate knowledge of their issues with regards to educating their children, finding health care for them, and integrating with the systems that are in place. So I believe that to heal this, it's going to be a matter of education and getting everybody up to speed. We have economic apartheid in America. In case you didn't notice, our family, and we talked about, Justice mentioned about this room, our neighborhoods are divided. We're not integrated, okay? But that's going to change with education. Okay, we need to have some help with English as a second language for the newest members of our community, such that they can participate in society and not feel ashamed because they don't have the language speaking skills. As a member of a bilingual family, I understand that perfectly when I go to my wife's country in France, and I'm left out of many conversations because I'm coming 2 sentences behind. But We've had the blessing here of our founding fathers giving us a system that we can guarantee the rights and freedoms of everyone, and we just have to stand up to the racism that we're hearing from our current elected officials and say, this is not the America we want to be part of. And we need to put people in power that understand that and create our schools in a vision more to our liking. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Again, thank you for the question, and I alluded this in my opening remarks, and I have a little more time to expound upon it. So in 2007, I banned the Confederate flag. I was the first and only superintendent in the state of Pennsylvania to do that because it was being used as an act of hostility towards people of color. Okay, and I also stood in front of town hall in Lidditz 2007 and said racism is evil and it is hateful and it's going to stop. Right? The condemnation is not enough. It has to be followed up by action. So just standing up and speaking out is not going to solve the problem. So we do have racism, and it's very clear. And the first step is recognizing that it exists. Because there are some places that say we don't have racist problems in this community, and they're flat out wrong. So first we recognize it, second we condemn it, and third we put some policies in place to change the attitudes. So in Warwick, I had an opportunity to work with the Department of Justice, the Office of Civil Rights, the Human Relations Commission. I fear working with some of those organizations today because the Department of Justice is not supporting racist behavior. But in 2007, that wasn't the case. Okay, when we rewrote curriculums, we put programs in place in our community to educate adults and children, to teach them to learn better ways. It's going to be difficult to change adults' racist behavior, but we have a new generation coming up that we can work with and stop this. And so we can work with children and let them learn about how to love and respect one another, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, etc. But it requires education programs, it requires community development programs, parent education programs, and we can educate people about the evils of racism, and we can change the tide. Now some other issues too. President Trump is obviously promoting this. He denies it, but here's another way he's promoting it that people don't see. It's called the privatization of public education. Privatization of public education is segregation. Okay, that's what it is.
10 seconds.
He hides it under school choice, but it's not choice for families, it's choice for institutions to deny people access to quality education. We need to change that.
Mike?
So your question is a great question. It really comes down to character. It comes down to who we want to be as a nation, who we believe we are, and who we think we should be. I think that when Christina gets to Congress, she's going to make it a priority to invite leaders like yourself, Louis, to work hand in hand to help build a bridge over the divide that's happening right now. Character starts at the top, and when we look at the top, we look at some of the things that have happened lately. It's easy to think that the future is not going to be so bright, but it's work like yours and your organization. It's work like what Lancaster Stands Up is doing. It's effort like everybody here in this room who's making an active choice to get involved early and to pay attention to what's going on. That's the only way that we're ever going to change the system, and that's the only way we're ever going to change the culture. We are a community, we need to act like a community. And the best way for us to make sure that these things are put behind us and are put in the past so we can move towards the future is to act like the community that we are.
Thank you.